My name is Lynn Turner. I'm a 43-year-old housewife. I live happily with my husband, Sam, and my son, Sean. I have a peaceful and happy family now, but there was a time when I was disillusioned with marriage and had a distrust of men. This was about a decade ago. I was married to a man named Harry. He was an elite businessman, graduated from a prestigious university and worked for a big corporation. I worked as an office clerk in the same company. I don't know how he noticed me, but after his persistent pursuit, we got married. Then I quit my job to become a full-time housewife. At first, it was a sweet and happy marriage, like something out of a dream. But it didn't last long. The discord between us stemmed from our inability to have children. Harry wanted a child of his own bloodline. My in-laws often pressured me for grandchildren, and gradually, I became fed up and started avoiding talks about children and in-laws. But of course, I wanted a child with the man I loved. With that resolve, I went to a nearby clinic. However, the doctor's words were unexpected. "There's nothing particularly wrong with your health, Mrs. Turner." Does that mean? Could you bring your husband next time? Cooperation between couples is essential for infertility treatment. With these advising words, I went home feeling uneasy and told Harry that we should visit the clinic together. But he lashed out, "What? You're saying it's my fault we can't have kids? That's ridiculous. It's the wife's job to have kids, so it must be your fault." Since then, I couldn't talk about children or infertility treatment anymore. Our time together as a couple decreased, and lately, I felt tense just being alone with Harry. It was almost a relief. One day, when I returned from shopping, I found divorce papers on the living room table. What? Next to it was a hastily written note. "I'm sick of you. Get out of my life." Such a simple farewell. In shock, I called Harry. "What's up? You have something to complain about?" "What's this?" "Of course, I have something to say. What is this all about?" "You can see it's a divorce paper, right? Just file it yourself. I'm not coming back home." "Huh? You didn't realize, but I have another girlfriend. Much younger and prettier than you. What a waste of time. I should have divorced you sooner." His blatant confession of infidelity and harsh words left me speechless. Without another word, Harry hung up, saying, "Goodbye. We probably won't meet again." I just collapsed right there. Tears started flowing naturally. They were tears of frustration. Slowly, I stood up and signed my part of the divorce papers. Then, a decade or so passed. That day, my family and I were at a nearby shopping mall. After lunch, we decided to go our separate ways for a bit. Sam and Sean went to look at books in a bookstore, enjoying their time together. I wanted to rest a bit more, so I sat down on a nearby bench. That's when it happened. "Hey, isn't that you, Lynn? Long time no see." A familiar voice, one I thought I'd never hear again. I tried to ignore it, but he grabbed my arm, saying, "Hey, ignoring me? You've got some nerve." I turned around. As I expected, it was my ex-husband, Harry. I involuntarily shrank back. I never expected to run into him here. Why would he bother talking to me now, after all this time? Harry immediately noticed the shining ring on my ring finger and snorted. "What, you got married again? Still infertile, I bet? You're too old to be dreaming like that." He spoke to me with the same contempt as before and then brought forward a young girl who was hiding behind him. "This is my daughter. Pretty, isn't she?" The girl, surprised to be addressed, stepped forward. With her beautiful face and long silky hair, she indeed looked lovely. But there was a hint of fear in her eyes. Harry, unasked, started bragging about her. "She's a model, recently started appearing on TV. But you, poor infertile woman, you'll never experience this," he said, crossing his arms and looking down at me. I wanted to retort, but I couldn't find the words. I was just like before. Just then, Sean, carrying bags from the bookstore, came running over. "Mom, what's going on?" I heard loud voices. "Who is this guy?" "Huh? Mom?" He looked foolishly surprised. "Yes, I'm not alone now. I have a precious family. I have the strongest allies by my side." I held back my tears and stood tall. Infertility? Oh, that was a thing of the past. "Let me introduce you. This is my son." I hugged Sean, who had come to my side, and spoke clearly. Harry's eyes widened in surprise. Sean, catching on quickly, nodded briefly and gave Harry a polite smile. "Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you." "I'm Sean, I'm her son. I'll be a sophomore at Prestige Academy this year." "What?" Harry was taken aback. Perhaps by the mention of Prestige Academy. It's a well-known school in the region with high academic standards. The school has excellent students. Passers-by started to look at us, wondering what was going on. Harry clicked his tongue loudly and glared at me, as if to blame me for attracting attention. But I wasn't afraid anymore. In fact, I was more focused on how small-minded Harry seemed, wondering why I was ever afraid of such a petty man. I felt strong because I had my precious family with me. Sean's friendly smile faded, replaced by a cold look. I observed Harry with a newfound sense of calm. He had changed a lot in the years since I last saw him. The sharp, elite businessman's look had gone. His face was saggy, his beard unkempt, and his hair disheveled. He had gained weight and, unlike his past self who was particular about branded clothing, now wore non-branded, worn-out clothes and shoes. Knowing Harry as I did in the past, I must say that his current appearance was shabby. If I hadn't heard his voice and rude remarks, I might not have recognized him as Harry. He finally spoke, his voice trembling. "You weren't infertile?" "I never said that." "You just assumed it was my fault we couldn't have children, didn't you?" "What? You're saying it's my fault?" "I didn't say that either." "You really don't get it, do you? You haven't changed at all." "Since when did you start talking back to me like that?" "Just now. And we're strangers now, so it doesn't matter how I talk to you. Can you stop acting like we're still married and being so familiar?" As I spoke back firmly, Harry looked genuinely shocked and froze. I, too, was surprised at how easily complaints about him flowed from me. My brain must be working overtime, venting all the frustration that had built up over the years. Sean, held close by me, also maintained a cold gaze towards Harry. In fact, both my husband and son knew about the mistreatment I endured from my ex-husband. I had told Sam before we got married, and I explained it to Sean when I told him about how my husband and I met. So, in Sean's eyes, Harry was the man who once made his mother suffer, and his sharp look was filled with evident animosity. Unable to withstand such a gaze, Harry snorted mockingly and blustered. "Yeah, anyone can claim he's your son. He's probably adopted or something. Real children have blood ties. It's pathetic how you're bragging." "What?" I returned his absurd comment with a mix of astonishment and anger. How far would this man go in belittling others? Just then, another ally of mine arrived. "What do you think you're doing here? That's pretty rude, isn't it?" "Sam." Sam stood protectively in front of me and Sean. He faced Harry with the same cold look. Harry visibly flinched at the sight of the new arrival. Sam was taller and more physically imposing than Harry. So it's no wonder Harry was taken aback. "Who are you to tell me to back off? You're just an outsider." "Do you really think I'm an outsider in this situation? I am her husband. I'd like you to stop bothering my wife and son." "Who's bothering? I was just saying hi to an old acquaintance." "Really? Then our conversation is over, isn't it?" Lynn, Sean, shall we go?
Wait a minute.
What do you still want? Sam turned us away, ready to leave. But Harry kept pestering us. He faced the cold stares of our family of 3 without backing down. Harry pointed at Sam. Was he never taught that it is rude to point at people?
You're Lynn's husband? As I've been saying. And Sean is undoubtedly our child. You should stop making assumptions and fantasies. What? You're acting all high and mighty.
Your behavior, like just now, must have been what made Lynn suffer in the past. She asked you to go to the clinic for infertility treatment, but you just yelled at her. That's the lowest of the low.
What? How do you know about that? Did Lynn tell you, snitching on me?
Stop talking like that. I'm her partner and just listen to her. Besides, I was the doctor who examined her at that time. What? Harry was dumbfounded. As it turns out, Sam is a doctor. He was the first physician I consulted about infertility issues. After divorcing Harry, I left our house and started living alone, using my savings. It was during this time that I happened to meet Sam again. Since Harry had refused infertility treatment, I had stopped visiting the clinic, so Sam was initially worried about me. Back then, I had taken a bigger hit than I realized from Harry running off with another woman, and I couldn't bring myself to engage with men. But Sam faced me sincerely, listened to my story, comforted me, and even got angry on my behalf at Harry. Slowly, by his side, I began to heal my emotional wounds. However, I still wondered if the infertility was my fault. I could not shake the suspicion that there might have been some unseen problem. But Sam reassured me.
I didn't want to marry you just because I wanted children. Of course, it would be great if we had them. But I love you and care about you, and I want to be with you and protect you always.
After his proposal, I accepted, and soon we were blessed with Sean. I was surprised and overjoyed. Despite his busy job, Sam actively took part in parenting. In fact, he might have been the main caregiver. Sam was utterly devoted and showed his parental adoration in everything. I relied on him and focused on recovering my health after childbirth. Sean grew up well, passing his middle school entrance exams, and now enjoys his adolescence with studies and extracurricular activities. They are all my precious family. What? A doctor husband and a son in a prestigious school, what's that about? Harry was flustered by the truths being revealed. Initially, he tried to belittle me, but now he was unsettled to realize that I was in a far happier family than he had. He couldn't genuinely acknowledge someone else's happiness, and only tried to look down on others. Such a hopeless man. Infertility isn't just a woman's issue. Half of infertility cases are due to problems on the male side. Despite wanting children, you assumed it was the woman's fault and pushed all the burden onto her. Infertility treatment requires cooperation between couples, and it's appalling how you ignored that. It's good that she left you.
Shut up. Don't talk like you know everything.
Unfortunately for you, I know more than you do.
And saying we split up makes it sound like I was the one who was dumped. I left her, get it straight.
Really? Is that so important? After all, you just ran off with another woman. You have some nerve saying that. Sam rubbed his temples, exasperated. Harry looked like he was about to throw a tantrum. Enough was enough. There was no point in continuing this unproductive conversation. There was nothing left to talk about anyway. In my mind, Harry was already a part of my past. I stepped up next to Sam, who was protecting me, and declared firmly.
That's enough, don't you think? You and I are strangers now. And just so you know, I could sue you for defamation for all the insults you've hurled at me.
What? Sue me? Why? I only spoke the truth. The truth? Whether it's about infertility or our son, Everything you've said is just your assumption. Do you think it's okay to hurt someone just because you believe it's the truth? Aren't you embarrassed to behave like that in front of your own child? What did you say? How dare you talk to me like that? That's why I'm asking you to stop pretending we're family. It's nothing but a nuisance. Can you please never speak to me again? What? Harry stepped forward, anger contorting his face. I braced myself, with Sam and Sean ready to shield me. Then, I noticed a security guard approaching us. Perhaps the crowd around us let him know about us. But it was Harry's daughter who stopped him.
Dad, enough already. Let's go, Mom is waiting,
he said, pulling his arm forcefully. Harry seemed reluctant, but he noticed the approaching guard. He turned to us and sniffed with all his might, humph, and left the place as if dragged by his daughter. His daughter glanced back at us and gave a small apologetic smile. She seemed quiet but strong-willed. Honestly, she didn't look much like Harry, but I refrained from mentioning it. And I'm sure Sam felt the same. After explaining the situation to the security guard who arrived, we decided to resume our shopping to change our mood. It was an unexpected reunion with my ex-husband. I did my best to but out as annoying, and I knew that if I had said all that, even if he saw me, he wouldn't get involved. But Harry's obsession took a strange turn and began to spiral out of control. About 2 weeks after the incident at the mall, Sean came home from school with a strange look on his face and said, "I need to talk to you." In the living room, over tea and snacks, I heard his story. Sean told me something I never expected. Today, I was ambushed at the school gate. Ambushed? By whom? That man, your ex-husband, was it Harry? He was waiting for me. What? I was shocked. Sean explained that just after parting with his friends at the school gate, Harry suddenly appeared from behind the school's fence and started talking to him. Indeed, Sean had mentioned his school name as part of his introduction, so it made sense that Harry knew which school he attended. However, the idea of him lying in wait like some kind of stalker chilled me. I was horrified by the sheer absurdity of Harry's actions. I'm sure Sean was even more shocked than I was. I moved to sit next to Sean, stroking his shoulder to comfort him, and urged him to continue his story. I was so startled, I just stopped. I should have ignored him. No, it's okay. It's shocking to have someone suddenly approach you like that. So, what did he say to you? He said that I am actually his son, and that my mom had been unfaithful with the doctor who is now my dad while she was married to him. What? What's that? What nonsense he's spouting. He had the nerve to insist all along that I was infertile. And then, once a child is born, he claims it's his son. Despite his own infidelity, he dares to accuse me of being unfaithful as well. I frowned. Sean hurriedly added, "Of course, I knew it was all lies." He kept talking even when I ignored him, so in the end, I just ran away. That's all right. Thank you for telling me. I hugged Sean. He hesitantly wrapped his arms around my back. Burying his face in my chest, he said softly, "I realized again how awful that man is. Lying in wait to feed me baseless lies. I'm glad you left him. If not, I wouldn't have been born. I guess that's the only thing to be thankful for. Sean, you're something else." I laughed at Sean's lighthearted comment and started to eat snacks, but inside, I was resolved. If it were just me, it might be different, but I won't tolerate Harry spewing abuse or trying to harm my husband and son. That very day, I contacted the school. I informed the teacher on the phone about the suspicious man lurking around and that my son was approached. The teacher was quick to act, and the school staff and security guards intensified their regular patrols. That evening, when Sam came home, I told him about Harry's contact with Sean. Sam was outraged.
"I can't believe he would do something like that."
It's okay, I've already talked to the school. If Harry tries to get close to our family again, Sam and I agreed to report him to the police without hesitation. The sighting of the suspicious person was communicated throughout the school the next day. A few days later, after school, Harry was reported by a neighborhood family for lurking around the school. Harry's intimidating and violent behavior towards the police who responded only worsened his image, and I heard he was taken away in a patrol car for questioning. Receiving this news, I felt a wave of relief. At least for now, the danger to Sean should be over. I need to prepare for when this issue might come back to us. A few days later, as I was returning from shopping, I was abruptly stopped by a high-pitched voice calling, "Excuse me." I reflexively turned around to see an unfamiliar woman. With flashy makeup, loud clothing, and dramatically arched eyebrows, giving her a striking appearance. Who could she be? I had no idea and couldn't recall any acquaintances who matched her description. As I pondered this, she marched up to me and burst out, "You're the one! Harry's ex-wife! Look what you've done!" "Excuse me? And you are?" "I'm his current wife." "It's your fault that Harry got arrested, isn't it? What are you going to do about it?" She ranted at me, almost spitting with rage. Despite her fury, I remained calm. I was thinking how much bolder I've become over the past few weeks. If she found me here, does that mean she knows where I live? "So, you're Harry's current wife. Were you the one he was with while still married to me, the one he left me for?" "Yes, that's right." "You were quite the victim, weren't you?" She surprisingly admitted it openly. Despite her initial outburst, she soon switched to a proud demeanor. Such a straightforward person. She then suddenly remembered her point. "So, it's your fault that Harry was arrested, right? You should take responsibility." "Why is it my fault? Harry and I are complete strangers now." "Harry told me. It must have been your son who snitched on him. Now the whole neighborhood knows he's been arrested. Our daughter can't even go outside." Our daughter. The beautiful girl introduced at the mall. I decided to confront her about something crucial. "Can I ask you something?" "What now?" "Is that girl really Harry's daughter?" "What? Of course not." She asserted this bluntly, and then sneered with a malicious smile. "Back then, I was seeing about 3 guys at once, but there's no way that child could be his. Considering when I got pregnant, and, we've been doing it since then, but there's not even a hint of a child coming. He's probably one of those trendy infertile guys now." "Trendy?" I frowned at her way of speaking. There are people seriously struggling with infertility. Even so, I must say, I did give birth to a cute kid. That's all thanks to me. She was doing so well in her entertainment activities, but now this mess has ruined it." "Then why did you run away with him?" I asked, holding back my anger. She snorted in response. "Back then, he was an elite working for a big corporation, right? He promised me a life without hardships if I was with him, so I thought it was time to settle down. But then he just quit his job out of the blue." I couldn't believe it. I listened to her indignation calmly. Harry was indeed working for a large corporation with a decent salary at the time. But on the same day he left the divorce papers and disappeared, he had suddenly resigned from his job. I knew this because a friend who worked at the same company had told me everything right after our divorce. Harry had left without any handover, citing personal reasons, and his abrupt departure had caused some chaos in his department. When my friend, who knew about Harry running off with his mistress, informed the company, the rumor spread quickly, making it difficult for Harry to work in the same industry again. "I got him good," my friend had boasted, and I remember smiling wryly at her words. But I had no intention of explaining all this to his current wife. "Did you ask him why he quit his job just like that?" "I have no idea. Something about focusing on child rearing and spending more time together." But what's the point in being with someone who has no money and can't even hold a steady job? He's just like a NEET. She spat out these words. I recalled Harry's appearance when we met at the mall. It seems their marriage is in a terrible state. Excuse me, but you don't argue like that in front of your daughter, do you?
What? That's none of your business. He's always indecisive about whose side he's on, which is so irritating. He should be on my side since I'm the one who gave birth to her.
That's terrible, I said, remembering the uneasy eyes of Harry's daughter at the mall and feeling a pang of sympathy for her. Isn't that an awful thing to say? Your marital issues shouldn't involve your child. It's all your own doing, after all.
What? Who do you think you are? This is also your fault, you know.
At my words, she lost her temper and lunged at me. That's when my savior appeared. Mom. Mom. Hey, what are you doing? Get away from my mom. Sean. It was Sean and Harry's daughter who had rushed over. Sean pulled Harry's wife away from me and shielded me with his back. Harry's irate wife was being restrained by her daughter.
Mom, are you okay?
Sean, thank you.
But why are you here with her?
I saw her wandering around here and approached her. Then she said her mom might have gone to complain to you, so we were searching together. That's when we heard the arguing. I see. I looked over Sean's shoulder at the mother and daughter in front of us. They were arguing fiercely.
Stop it. I need to give her a piece of my mind. Mirabelle, you must feel the same, right? Mom, please stop this. It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing, you say? Yes, it's unbelievable to cause trouble like this in public. Who do you think raised you?
Your success in show business was all because I managed you properly.
I appreciate you raising me, but that's different. And Mom, you always talk about my showbiz work, but I never wanted to do it. I had to because you and Dad were so unreliable, just to make ends meet. What did you say? As she lunged at her daughter, Sean, and I rushed to hold her back. The daughter stared hard at her mother.
I hate you, Mom.
She shouted and covered her face with her hands. Her loud cry left Harry's wife stunned and crumbling. Eventually, neighbors called the police, and a patrol car arrived. We were asked about the incident. In the end, we received an apology from Mirabelle, but it felt pointless as she had done nothing wrong. After receiving my call, Sam left work and hugged Sean and me. I'm glad nothing happened. I can't bear to think if something did. His words brought relief, and I felt my tension ease. After that, Harry kept trying to ambush Sean, but was reported every time and never met Sean again. Harry and his wife's arguments grew worse, and I heard they divorced not long after the incident. I didn't care about them, but I was concerned about Mirabelle. She was taken in by distant relatives. The couple who couldn't have children treated Mirabelle as if she were their own daughter, but she felt it was too much to impose on them for too long, so she decided to aim for enrollment in a boarding high school. This was information from Sean. Since then, he's been in touch with Mirabelle. And they even plan online study sessions now. Apparently, she couldn't attend school properly because her parents forced her to prioritize her entertainment career. Such irresponsible parents. We decided to move, considering the risk of them knowing our address. Sam thought it was dangerous. Mom, Dad, can I write a letter to Mirabelle once we settle in the new house? That should be fine, Sean. Our address shouldn't leak from her.
Shall we go by some letter sets together sometime?
Sean smiled happily. Children are innocent.
I renewed my determination to protect the peaceful everyday life where my family can laugh and enjoy together.